She thought she had won the divorce, but in 72 hours, she would lose her freedom. Sarah stood in the middle of what used to be their living room. Lipstick smeared, dress half-zipped, laughing into her phone like a woman who just won the lottery. "Baby, it's done. I'm taking everything. The house, the cars, the business accounts. All of it." That fool signed the papers without even reading them. She twirled, her heels clicking against the floor her husband had paid for. He actually cried, "Marcus, can you believe it? 34 years old and crying like a little boy." What Sarah didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know as she packed her designer bags and texted her lover, was that at that exact moment, her husband Daniel sat in a lawyer's office across town, sliding a black folder across a mahogany desk. Inside that folder was everything. And in 72 hours, Sarah's entire world wouldn't just collapse. It would burn. But let me take you back. Because every bomb needs a fuse, and this one had been lit 6 months ago. 6 months earlier, Daniel was the kind of man people called nice. Too nice, maybe. The kind who brought his wife breakfast in bed every Sunday. Who remembered her mother's birthday when she forgot. Who built a tech company from nothing and never once made her feel small for contributing nothing to it. Sarah was beautiful. Everyone said so. Tall, brown skin that glowed like honey in sunlight, eyes that could make men forget their own names. She worked in marketing, barely, at a firm downtown where she spent more time posting photos than creating campaigns. They lived in a glass house in the city's richest neighborhood. Literally glass. Floor-to-ceiling windows that made you feel like you were floating above Legos. Daniel had designed it himself, back when he still believed in transparency in marriage. Funny how that works. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. Daniel came home early from a meeting that got canceled. He pushed open the bedroom door, smiling, ready to surprise his wife. Instead, he heard her voice drifting from a bathroom, low, sweet, dripping with something he hadn't heard in years. "I can't wait either," she whispered. "He'll be gone all weekend for that conference. We'll have the whole place to ourselves." Daniel's hand froze on the doorknob. "No, Marcus. He doesn't suspect anything. He's too busy playing tech genius to notice his own wife." She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Trust me, by this time next year, I'll have half of everything he owns. Then we can finally be together for real." Daniel backed away slowly. His heart wasn't racing. It wasn't breaking. It was doing something worse. It was calculating. He went to his office, locked the door, and sat in the dark for 3 hours. Some men would have burst in screaming. Some would have started throwing punches. Daniel did something different. He opened his laptop and started building a file. You need to understand something about Daniel. Before the tech company, before the money, before Sarah, he'd worked in corporate intelligence. The kind of job that doesn't exist on paper. He'd traced money through shell companies for governments. He'd found people who didn't want to be found. He knew how to dig until he hit bone. He'd left that life behind because Sarah asked him to. Said it scared her. Said she wanted a husband, not a spy. Now he understood why. For the next 3 weeks, Daniel played the perfect husband. He kissed Sarah goodbye every morning, complimented her dresses, made love to her with his eyes open, watching her perform pleasure like an actress who'd rehearsed the scene too many times. At night, while she slept, he worked. He cloned her phone, easy when you know the passcode, and she never changes it. He installed trackers on her car. He hired a private investigator named Tund, a former police detective who owed him a favor from years back. "You sure you want to see this?" Tund asked him during their first meeting at Cafe Far from Daniel's neighborhood. "Everything," Daniel said. "I want to see everything." What he saw would have destroyed a weaker man. Sarah and Marcus had been together for 18 months. Not 6 months. 18. They'd met at a company retreat Daniel had paid for. Marcus was a business consultant, which Daniel quickly discovered meant he helped rich people hide money from their wives. The irony was thick enough to choke on. The messages between them were worse than Daniel imagined. They didn't just talk about love. They talked about strategy. Sarah had been planning this divorce since month 6 of the affair. She consulted lawyers, researched asset protection. She'd even convinced Daniel to put her name on 3 bank accounts last year, saying it would make her feel secure. He'd signed the papers because he loved her. She'd file them away like weapons. But here's what Sarah didn't know about Daniel. He never made a move without 3 backups. Every business account she thought her name was on, he created Mirror Trust 6 years ago, during the company's early days. Legal structures she'd never seen, in jurisdictions she didn't know existed. Her name was on paper, but the paper was worthless. The house? Owned by a corporation Daniel controlled through a web of entities his old contacts had helped him build. The cars? Leased through companies she'd never heard of. Daniel had been protecting his assets since before he met her. Not because he planned for divorce, but because that's what smart men did in his industry. Now that protection looked a lot like prophecy. Sarah filed for divorce on a Friday afternoon, 3 months after Daniel discovered the affair. She did it with a smile. She walked into the house, his house, with her lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Gloria who wore her ambition like perfume. Sarah's eyes were bright, almost excited. "Daniel, we need to talk." He was sitting on the couch, watching the sunset through those glass walls. He looked up slowly, and Sarah felt a flicker of something. Satisfaction, maybe, or power. "I want a divorce," she said simply. Daniel nodded. "Okay." That's all he said. Just, okay. Sarah blinked. She'd expected tears, maybe begging. She prepared a whole speech about personal growth and finding herself. But he just agreed? Gloria stepped forward, sliding papers across the coffee table. "We're requesting an equitable distribution of assets, including 50% of all business holdings, this property, and the vehicles. We're also asking for alimony payments of $50,000 a month," Daniel finished. "I saw the amount. It's in the papers." Sarah's smile widened. "I'm glad you're being reasonable about this." "I'm always reasonable," Daniel said. His voice was soft, almost sad. It made Sarah's victory taste even sweeter. He picked up a pen. Gloria tensed. "You should have your own lawyer review." "I don't need one." Daniel signed the first page, then the second, then the third. Sarah could barely contain her glee. She pulled out her phone, fingers itching to text Marcus. He signed everything. "We're rich." But she waited, didn't want to seem too eager. "There's one more thing," Daniel said quietly. He stood up, tall and lean, still handsome in that quiet way that used to make her stomach flip. Now it just made her impatient. "What?" "I'm glad you're happy," he said. "You deserve to be happy." Sarah almost laughed. Was he really this pathetic? This weak? "Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you making this easy." He nodded, walked toward the door. Stopped. "Sarah?" "Yes." "You should check your phone. I think Marcus sent you something." Sarah's smile faltered for just a second. How did he know Marcus's name? But when she looked at her phone, there was indeed a message. From Marcus. A selfie of him on a beach somewhere, drink in hand, huge grin, "Missing you, baby. This divorce money's gonna change our lives." Sarah's heart swelled. See? Everything was working perfectly. "Cute couple," Daniel said. Then he left. Sarah moved out that weekend. Took everything she wanted. Clothes, jewelry, art pieces. She packed like she was going on vacation, not ending a marriage. She moved straight into Marcus's apartment downtown. Smaller than the glass house, but they wouldn't be there long. Once the settlement came through, they'd buy something even bigger. That first week was perfect. They stayed in bed until noon, drank expensive wine, had sex on every piece of furniture. Sarah posted photos constantly, her and Marcus at fancy restaurants, her in designer dresses he bought her laughing like she'd never laughed before. The comments rolled in. "You look so happy. You're glowing. New beginnings." She replied to every single one, making sure her friends knew she'd upgraded. Better looking, better body, better everything. Daniel probably saw them. She hoped he did. What Sarah didn't see, what she was too busy celebrating to notice, were the small things starting to shift beneath her feet. The credit card she tried to use at lunch one day got declined. Weird. She tried another. Same thing. "Must be a mistake," she told Marcus, who paid for the meal with a tight smile. Then her gym membership got canceled. Her spa appointments disappeared from the system. The designer boutique she loved shopping at suddenly claimed her account was under review. "It's just Daniel being petty," she told her best friend Lisa over cocktails. "He's probably freezing accounts or something. My lawyer says he can't do that, so it'll get fixed." Lisa nodded, but her eyes looked worried. "Sarah, are you sure you know what you're doing?" Daniel always seemed like he had his life together. Guys like that don't usually. Guys like that are boring, Sarah interrupted. Marcus is exciting. Marcus makes me feel alive. What Sarah didn't know was that at that exact moment, Marcus was in his own apartment, staring at his phone in horror. He'd just received an email from an encrypted address. Subject line: "We need to talk about your other wife." Attached with a photo: Marcus, 5 years ago, standing next to a woman in a wedding dress. A woman who definitely wasn't Sarah. And below that, another photo, a police report. Fraud charges from 2019. Dismissed, but then a third photo. Marcus's consulting business records showing payments from 7 different married women over the past 3 years. The email had one more line: "I know everything about you. Every scam, every lie, every woman. You have 48 hours to do exactly what I say, or all of this goes public." Starting with Sarah. Marcus's hands shook so badly he almost dropped the phone. He called Sarah immediately. "We need to talk." "Can it wait? I'm getting my nails done." "No, it can't wait." They met at his apartment that night. Sarah walked in smiling, ready to tell him about her day, but stopped when she saw his face. "What's wrong?" Marcus paced like a trapped animal. "I got an email from someone who knows things about me." "What kind of things?" He couldn't look at her. "Things from my past. Business things." Sarah's stomach clenched. "What business things?" "I might have exaggerated some parts of my life." "Exaggerated? Okay, fine." He ran his hands through his hair. "I'm not exactly a business consultant. I help people move money. Not always legally. And I might have been married before. Twice. And those marriages might have ended because I took money from those women too." The room went very, very quiet. Sarah stared at him. "You're a con artist." "I prefer financial strategists." "You're a con artist. You married women and robbed them." "I never technically robbed." "Oh my God." Sarah backed away. "Did you do this to me? Is that what this was?" "No. Baby, no. This is different. What we have is real." "Then why are you telling me this now?" Marcus pulled out his phone, showed her the email. "Someone knows. And they're threatening to tell you everything unless you what?" "Unless I leave you. Publicly. The email says I have to dump you in front of everyone we know, or they'll release all this information." Sarah felt like the floor had opened beneath her. "Who sent it?" Marcus shook his head. "I don't know, but there's only one person who'd want to destroy both of us." They looked at each other. "Daniel," Sarah whispered. What Sarah doesn't realize yet is that the email to Marcus was just a beginning. Daniel hasn't just built a bomb. He's built an entire minefield. And she's already standing on the first trigger. Marcus broke up with Sarah on a Monday morning, in the middle of a coffee shop, in front of 12 people they both knew. Sarah had walked in thinking they were meeting to plan their next move against Daniel. Instead, Marcus stood up the moment he saw her, his face pale and sweaty. "I can't do this anymore," he announced, loud enough for the entire cafe to hear. Sarah froze. "What?" "This relationship. It's over. I'm done." The cafe went silent. Phones came out. Of course they did. This was the kind of drama that fed social media for weeks. "Marcus, what are you?" "You use me," he said, and Sarah's brain couldn't process the word because they were backwards, all backwards. "You only wanted me because I could help you take Daniel's money. But I'm not going to be part of your gold-digging scheme anymore." Sarah felt her face go hot. "That's not true. You're lying." "I have the messages, Sarah. You telling me exactly how to help you hide assets. How to make sure Daniel couldn't touch certain accounts. You played me." He was reading from a script. Sarah could see in his eyes the fear, the desperation. Someone was making him do this. Daniel. But she couldn't say that. Not here. Not with everyone watching, recording, posting. Please, she whispered. Can we talk about this in private? There's nothing left to talk about. Marcus grabbed his jacket. Lose my number. Then he walked out, leaving Sarah standing there while everyone stared. Her phone started buzzing before she even made it to the door. Text messages. Dozens of them. OMG, did you see what Marcus posted? Girl, are you okay? I always knew something was off about him. Sarah opened her social media with shaking hands. Marcus had posted a long statement, a perfectly crafted piece of fiction about how Sarah had manipulated him, used him, lied to him, how he'd finally seen through her games. The comments were already pouring in. Hundreds of them, most from people she knew, her friends, her family, everyone. Sarah wanted to scream, wanted to throw her phone against the wall, but she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, because she understood now. This wasn't Marcus protecting himself. This was Daniel burning her alive. Sarah went back to Marcus's apartment, except it wasn't Marcus's apartment anymore. The locks had been changed. She stood in the hallway, banging on the door, called his phone over and over. Nothing. He'd blocked her number, blocked her on everything. Her suitcases were sitting outside the door in a neat row, a note taped to the largest one. Take your things and go. No signature. Didn't need one. Sarah's hand shook as she pulled out her phone. She needed help, needed somewhere to go. She called Lisa. Hey, Sarah, listen, I can't really talk right now. Lisa, please. I need a place to stay. Just for a few days until I figure things out. Silence on the other end. Long enough that Sarah's chest started to hurt. I don't think that's a good idea. What? Why? Sarah. Lisa's voice got quieter, like she was moving to another room. Everyone's talking. About you and Marcus. About what you did to Daniel. People are saying you're not. I mean, they're saying some really bad things. They're lies. All of it. Daniel's doing this. Look, I have to go. I'm sorry. Click. Sarah stared at her phone. Then she started calling other friends. One after another. Jessica, my husband doesn't want me getting involved in your drama. Temmie, I think you need to sort out your own problems right now. Blessing. Didn't even answer. Just sent a text. Please don't contact me again. In 2 hours, Sarah went from having a circle of 20 close friends to having nobody. She tried her mother next. Sarah, what on earth is happening? Your aunt sent me some posts about you and some man. Mama, it's complicated. Can I come stay with you for a while? Her mother hesitated. Actually hesitated. Your father is very angry. He's saying you brought shame to the family. Maybe you should stay wherever you are until things calm down. Mama, I have nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before you destroyed your marriage for some small boy. The line went dead. Sarah sat on the floor in that hallway, surrounded by her expensive suitcases and designer clothes, and realized she was completely alone. She had one option left. She called Gloria, her lawyer. We need to accelerate the divorce settlement. Sarah said the moment Gloria picked up. I need my money now. Sarah, we have a problem. Those 5 words made Sarah's blood turn cold. What problem? I got a call from Daniel's legal team this morning. They're contesting everything. They're saying you committed fraud by claiming ownership of assets that don't belong to you. That's crazy. My name is on those accounts. Your name is on documents that reference accounts. But the actual accounts are owned by entities you have no legal connection to. Trust set up years before you married Daniel. Shell companies in 3 different countries. Sarah couldn't breathe. What does that mean? It means you don't own anything. The house isn't yours. It's owned by a corporation. The cars are leased by companies you're not part of. The bank accounts with your name? They're dummy accounts. The real money is somewhere else. But I signed papers. You signed papers giving you access, not ownership. And now Daniel's lawyers are claiming you use that access to embezzle money. They have transaction records showing you move funds into accounts belonging to Marcus. They're calling it theft. The hallway started spinning. How much are they saying I stole? Gloria's voice went very quiet. $3 million. Sarah's phone slipped from her hand. You need to understand something about Daniel's plan. It wasn't just about taking back what was his. It was about making sure Sarah lost everything she thought she'd won. The money she'd moved to Marcus's accounts. Daniel had planted it there himself, through his own financial networks. Then he documented every transaction, making it look like Sarah was systematically stealing from the marriage. The social media posts from Marcus? Daniel had written every word, sent them to Marcus along with a very simple choice. Post this and walk away clean or go to prison for fraud. Marcus chose survival. The friends who abandoned Sarah? Daniel had spent 2 months before the divorce quietly planting stories. Nothing obvious. Just small comments here and there. Sarah seems different lately, doesn't she? Has anyone noticed how much she's been spending? I'm worried about her. Seeds of doubt that blossomed into full suspicion the moment the affair became public. Daniel had studied psychological warfare before he started his company. He knew the most effective way to destroy someone wasn't violence. It was isolation. 3 days after Marcus dumped her, Sarah was served with criminal charges. Theft, fraud, embezzlement. She sat in a police station handcuffed while officers read her rights. The same officers who used to smile and wave when they saw her and Daniel at charity events. Now they looked at her like she was garbage. I want my lawyer, Sarah said. They let her make the call. Gloria showed up an hour later, looking tired. They have everything, Sarah. Bank records. Text messages between you and Marcus about moving money. Even recordings. What recordings? Gloria pulled out her phone, played an audio file. Sarah's voice came through clearly. Make sure Daniel doesn't see the transfers. We need to move it before he notices. Sarah's mind raced. I never said that. That's not. It's your voice. It's fake. It has to be fake. But even as she said it, Sarah remembered a conversation with Marcus about 6 months ago about transferring money to a joint account for their future. Had Daniel recorded that? Edited it somehow? They're offering a deal, Gloria said. If you plead guilty, return whatever money they think you can return, they'll reduce the charges. You do maybe 18 months. 18 months? In prison. Better than 10 years if this goes to trial and you lose. Sarah wanted to scream, wanted to tear the room apart. But all she could do was sit there, handcuffed, while her entire life crumbled around her. Where's Daniel? She whispered. Is he doing this? Gloria looked at her with something like pity. Daniel hasn't said a word publicly. He's letting the evidence speak for itself. That was worse, somehow, that he wasn't gloating, wasn't celebrating. He'd simply built a perfect trap and walked away. Sarah made bail barely. Her mother had to use the family house as collateral, and she cried the entire time. Not for Sarah, for the shame of it all. Sarah had nowhere to go, so she ended up in a small hotel on the edge of the city, the kind with stained carpets and walls thin enough to hear every conversation next door. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so fast. Her phone buzzed. A known number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Sarah. The voice was male, unfamiliar. My name is Tund. I work for your husband. Sarah sat up. What do you want? To give you some information. Free of charge. Because I think you deserve to know what you're really dealing with. I already know. Daniel set me up. Daniel did more than set you up. He's been planning this since the day he found out about the affair. Every move you made, he was 3 steps ahead. Every account you thought you controlled, he controlled. Every friend you thought you had, he got a first. Sarah's throat tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because Daniel asked me to. He wants you to understand something. You didn't lose because you were stupid. You lost because you were playing a game you didn't know existed. While you were planning a divorce, he was planning your complete destruction. I don't believe you. Check your email, Tund said. He sent you something. Call a goodbye gift. The line went dead. Sarah opened her email with shaking hands. There was one new message. From Daniel. No subject line. Just an attachment. She clicked it. A video file opened. Security camera footage from their house. Dated 6 months ago, the day Daniel had come home early and heard her on the phone with Marcus. The video showed him standing outside the bedroom door, listening, his face completely blank. Then it showed him walking to his office, sitting down at his computer and starting to type. The camera angle shifted. Now she could see his screen. He was creating a folder, titling it Operation Cleanup. Inside that folder were subfolders, dozens of them. Financial audit, legal strategy, social engineering, exit plan, evidence collection. Each one color-coded, organized, detailed. The video jumped forward in time. Days compressed into seconds, showing Daniel working late into every night, meeting with lawyers, meeting with Tund, meeting with people Sarah didn't recognize, building his trap piece by piece. The video ended with recent footage. From 3 days ago, Daniel, sitting in his office, watching his computer screen. On the screen, news articles about Sarah's arrest. He didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He just closed his laptop, stood up, and walked out of frame. Below the video was a single line of text. You asked for a divorce. I gave you freedom. Now live with it. Sarah felt something break inside her chest, not her heart. Hearts broke cleanly. This was Messier. This was the part of her that had believed she was smart, capable, in control. That part shattered into dust. The trial happened fast. Daniel's lawyers pushed for an expedited hearing, and Sarah's public defender, Gloria, had dropped her when the retainer ran out. Could barely keep up. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, text messages, the edited audio recordings that sounded completely real. Character witnesses who testified that Sarah had always been materialistic, always been ambitious, always been willing to do whatever it took to get ahead. People she called friends. The jury took 4 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on 2 counts. Not guilty on 1. Some technicality Sarah's lawyer managed to argue. The judge sentenced her to 2 years in prison, 3 years probation, and restitution of $1.2 million. Money Sarah didn't have and would never have. Her mother didn't come to the sentencing. Neither did her father. Neither did anyone. Sarah stood there in an orange jumpsuit, listening to the judge talk about consequences and responsibility, and felt nothing. Nothing at all. Daniel heard about the verdict while he was in a meeting with investors. His assistant slipped him a note. She got 2 years. He nodded once, then went back to his presentation about the company's expansion into new markets. After the meeting, he drove home, not to the glass house, which he'd sold immediately after Sarah moved out, but to a new place downtown. Smaller, quieter, no windows that made you feel exposed. He poured himself a drink, sat on the balcony, and looked out at the city lights. Tund called. It's done. I know. You feel better? Daniel considered the question. No, didn't think you would. Tund paused. For what it's worth, she had it coming. Maybe she betrayed me, but I destroyed her. Those aren't equal things. You want me to feel sorry for her? No, Daniel said quietly. I want you to feel sorry for me, because I became the kind of man who could do this, and I can't take that back. Tund didn't have an answer for that. They sat in silence for a moment, then Tund spoke again. There's one more thing. What? Marcus. He's trying to leave the country. Booked a flight to Dubai tomorrow morning. Daniel's jaw tightened. Marcus had played his part, posted the breakup, humiliated Sarah publicly. Daniel had promised him a clean exit if he cooperated. But promises made to men like Marcus weren't worth much. Cancel his passport, Daniel said, and send the fraud evidence to police. He doesn't get to walk away. Thought you might say that. Daniel ended the call and finished his drink. The thing about revenge he was learning was that it didn't end. It just kept going, consuming everything in its path, including the person who started it. 6 months later, Sarah sat in the common area of the correctional facility, staring at a letter that had arrived that morning. It was from Daniel. She'd almost thrown it away without reading it. But curiosity, that dangerous, persistent thing, made her open it. The letter was short. Sarah, I'm told you'll be eligible for parole in 8 months if you maintain good behavior. I've instructed my lawyers not to contest it. You've paid enough. What happened between us wasn't love, but it was real. I'm sorry it ended the way it did. I'm sorry I became what I became to make it end. When you get out, you'll find an account in your name with enough money to start over. Not much, but enough. It's not forgiveness. It's not redemption. It's just an ending. I hope you find whatever it was you were looking for. D. Sarah read the letter 3 times, then folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. She didn't cry. She'd run out of tears months ago. Instead, she went back to her cell, lay on her bunk, and stared at the ceiling. The worst part wasn't the prison, wasn't the shame or the isolation or even the betrayal. The worst part was knowing that Daniel had been right. She hadn't just lost because he was smarter. She'd lost because she'd never understood what she was risking. Had treated their marriage like a game, their vows like suggestions, his trust like something she could spend without consequence. And when the bill came due, she had nothing left to pay it with. 1 year later, the real ending. Daniel stood in his office, looking at a photo on his desk. Him and Sarah on their wedding day. Both of them young, smiling, full of hope. He'd kept it through everything. Even after the divorce, the arrest, the trial. Even after he'd systematically destroyed the woman in that photo. He kept it as a reminder. Not of her. Of him. Of the man he'd been before rage. Turned him into something else. His phone rang. Tunned. She's out. Daniel had known this was coming. Sarah's parole had been approved last week. Where is she? Moved to another city. Quiet neighborhood. Got a job at a small marketing firm. Using her maiden name. Good. You want to keep tabs on her? Daniel looked at the photo one more time, then put it face down in a drawer. No. Let her go. You sure? I'm sure. He hung up and walked to the window. Outside, the city moved like it always did. People living their lives, making their choices, building their futures or burning them down. Daniel had won. Completely. Totally. Sarah had lost everything. And yet, standing there in his expensive office in a successful company, Daniel felt the weight of it. The victory that tasted like ash. The revenge that solved nothing. Because here's the truth they don't tell you about winning. Sometimes you destroy your enemies so completely that you destroy yourself in the process. Sometimes you get everything you wanted and realize it was never what you needed. Sometimes the bomb you build doesn't just hurt the person it's meant for. It blasts a crater in your own soul that nothing can fill. The end